Cheers, brother.
All right, episode 5. We're back. Welcome to the Fall Forward podcast. My name is Liam.
I'm Nick.
Let's fucking go. Today we're talking about the meaning of life and lack of purpose. I promise we won't be here for like 10 hours. We have a simple answer.
Yes.
But first off, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you, Liam? It seems so disingenuous.
I'm doing good, bro. Today's my I was telling you before, it's my first day off of pre.
Yeah.
So I'm going through DTs right now. My
Nice.
cold sweat. No, I had some coffee, some good conversation. I'm fucking ready to go.
Oh yeah, I'm fired up.
Let's go.
I'm in it to win it. So, I'm gonna pose this question to you as usual. What is the meaning of life? Pretty profound question, right?
So I think we did some discussion before the episode to try to kind of like simplify it a little bit, and I think like the conclusion we can both come to, and like you'll speak on it too, is that like the meaning of life is purpose. Like without purpose, and like I think we've said this in another episode or maybe just in a conversation, that everyone needs a goal that's impossible to be achieved by tomorrow.
Right. Yeah, it's gotta be bigger than yourself, beyond you, right?
Right, and so what that's going to create, if you have a goal that big, is purpose. Now you have a solid purpose, and that can be anything. I mean, it could be like a way that you want to affect the world. It could be change that you want to see happen. It could be a career that you want. But it has to be a meaningful purpose, which means that you believe in it. For whatever reason, you have some core value about how you want to affect the world, want to change the world, want to be a part of the world, and then finding out what you can do to fulfill that purpose.
And I think an important aspect of that is that it's unique to each individual based on their own, like their life task, like what challenges they're going to encounter in life, what values they've developed for the world. It's like that's where you're going to find purpose and meaning in life. It's unique to each individual. So there's not really some overarching meaning of life other than to find meaning in your life. Like that is the meaning.
And it's so based on like your skill set or what you enjoy, or like, and I think the biggest thing that when I talk to other like 20, 22-year-olds, 25-year-olds, sometimes like people even older, a lot older than us, is it's thinking about the fundamental things that we liked when we were kids.
Oh, that's a good place to look for.
Because that's where I always point people to. I'm like, well, what did you like when you were a kid?
Yep.
Because when you're like 3 or 4 or 5, you like do stuff that you like just like. The world doesn't affect you. The world's opinion doesn't affect you. Society doesn't affect you. Nobody's told you, no, motherfucker, you can't do that. You're not going to be successful yet. So to look at those things as like a young adult or like even as a teenager and go back to them, that's like probably hands down the best way I've found
and
it.
Sometimes it's not like the specific things that you like to do. It's like what's underneath that. What are the values that underlie what you're doing?
I don't say that shit, dude.
Because it's like, if you like doing a certain sport, it's like maybe that particular sport's not the meaning of your life, but maybe something underneath that is. Like,
right. And like I think I was literally thinking about this as I was talking, and I was like, I'll hold off on it. But for me, like, I built Legos. As a kid, like, I love Legos. I don't even like them when they're built, though. I like building them.
The process of building
like, when I would, like, which is just so, like, perfectly, like, explains the person I am now. But, like, say I would get, like, a Lego set on Christmas Day or my birthday, I would be up all night. I would build it, like, see how it comes together. Like, I probably wouldn't even stop until it's done unless it was like a huge piece. But then once it was done, I'd put it on the shelf and it wouldn't mean much to me anymore. And so for a while I thought I wanted to be an architect. I thought I wanted to like do blueprints for buildings and like build skyscrapers and plan stuff out. But what you were just saying about the deeper meaning is that's a very shallow view on my love for building Legos. The real view on it is that like I love the process of starting things and seeing them grow and being a part of that process.
Right.
And that can be applicable to anything.
Yeah, because I mean, I was very similar as a kid. I liked to play with Legos as well, but what I really liked was sort of, I had like these army men and blocks and cars, and I'd play with them, and I'd create these elaborate scenarios and situations where like there was a massive war going on, and then what I would do is I would pick one side or the other, and I would try to strategize against myself, like to try to invade a fort. So I'd have like a fort that I built out of like Lego blocks. I'd have army men defending it from different positions. Then I'd have a separate army trying to think about, okay, how can this army penetrate this fort? And at the same time, I'd be thinking, okay, how does this army that's supporting the fort defend it from the other army? And so it was about strategizing and trying to figure out the optimal way to, to conquer something or to achieve. And so that's sort of, I've carried that into my life now, where it's like I'm constantly strategizing and thinking about, okay, how can we get this done? How can we address this problem in the most efficient way possible? So I found a lot of, it makes me really happy. It's just like, it gets me so excited to be doing that in the real world. Yeah. And then seeing how I did that as a kid too is really funny.
Yeah. And like, that's just like, that's only like the process that you love being a part of. But then picking where you want to apply that is also part of it. Like for me, it was music. Like I got sober and I was like, I have this calling towards making music. Like I've been writing my whole life. Like I want to do this. So I applied that love for like the hustle and seeing things grow and like making it happen to music. And like now I have like the dream spot. And like maybe you can say the same thing about
I
like Better Connects.
I applied it directly to business. My love for strategizing and there's also that whole building process too, because I had to build the defenses and I had to build the army and position them. So I have that same love that you do for like the process of just building and seeing something come to fruition. And then I took that and I just applied it to business itself.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's always so crazy to me to like see like how much like the things that like we loved and we did as little kids like really affect the way we are now. I didn't even know that about the army man and the fortress. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I would spend so much time doing that.
Yeah, that seems like exactly what like I would think you would be doing as a little kid though. That's wild.
I've always wanted to take over the world a little bit.
Yeah. You're gonna give it up and be a military commander?
There's a secret desire to get into military strategy, and I've actually been thinking about picking up some books about Napoleon and Alexander the Great and their military conquests to learn more about how they were able to achieve what they did in their time.
Yeah, I think there's, I think there's things to be learned from them. Any leader in power, even if they were a terrible person.
Yeah, there's lessons to be derived from their achievements, though sometimes their achievements might have been, at the detriment to a large group of other people. It's still impressive that they were able to do what they did, and there's still lessons that can be derived from their ability to exercise their power and attain power that you can apply for good. So one thing that I definitely have, which I've learned and come to terms with, is that I have a will to power. Like I really want to have influence, and it's been like that ever since I was a little kid. I'd always try to get my way, and I used to throw tantrums and whatnot if things didn't go my way. But then I learned that that's just really not an effective strategy.
Right.
The best way to get things to go your way is to think about what other people want and what they need, and then to help them get that, and then you become valuable to them and therefore influential.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Providing value. No, I agree. What is our next question?
So
because I do not want to go on another tangent again.
We kind of answered it already, but it was like, what is the meaning of our lives for each of us? And you kind of explained, I think partially because you talked about your experience as a kid and your like love of building and seeing something come to fruition, and how you've done that with music, and like that's how you're finding meaning and purpose in your life, is because you enjoy the process of just building what you are right now.
Yeah, and I think it's also like I think everyone has a love for influence.
Mm-hmm.
I think we all want to influence the world because that's what I'm doing in my music.
Right.
I have a personal story to tell, and I'm hoping that influences people in some kind of way for two reasons. And I would be lying if I said it was only one. For one reason, because I feel like I have a positive message that can help people, but also by providing that positive message, I gain personal success.
Right.
You know, like, so it's not one way or the other, because, like, we've also talked about this, like, is that manipulative? You know, like, being, like, providing value and being a good person for personal success? I don't think so, because that's the way the world works.
Yeah, we're all inherently self-interested, and we're really only going to do things so long as they align with our self-interest. And so I think the way to be truly morally virtuous is to align your self-interest with the interest of others, so that there's mutual benefit.
Yeah.
That you both, you both succeed. You lift everybody up. That's the same thing I'm trying to do with what I'm doing in business. Is yes, I will personally benefit. I'll make a lot of money by being able to monetize the products and services I'm providing to people. But at the same time, they're paying for those products and services because it's providing them some type of value.
You're not scamming them.
Yeah, I'm not scamming. I'm not manipulating.
Yeah.
I'm providing something that is valuable to them that they're willing to pay for, and then therefore I benefit at the same time.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
So let's move on to the lack of purpose. I guess just to summarize, what would you describe the meaning of your life in like a short phrase?
I think like the meaning of my life is like to one, like be a good person. Two, like by being a good person, bring positivity, bring goodness, and bring something valuable into the world. For me, that's my music. That's my main focus. That is the one positive thing that I feel like I have for the world is my music. And in turn, being happy with the good thing that I provide to the world. So it really comes down to two things, like, and I think to like simplify it overall, the meaning of anyone's life is to find something that makes you feel good. However, it also brings goodness into the world.
Right.
Because if you're just doing something that's bringing goodness into the world and you hate it, you're just a carpet. You're just a people pleaser.
Yeah.
And if you're bringing something into the world that's terrible, but you like it, you're just a piece of shit.
You're a selfish narcissistic
Yeah.
sociopath, right?
So those are the two things. If you love it and it provides good to the world, there it is.
Right. Yeah, I mean that's basically the same idea that I have for my meaning in life, is to try to influence the world in a positive way, ideally at scale, right? So in the greatest way possible. Because you can do that even at the micro. You can just be nice to the person at the coffee shop. You can just smile at people. You can be kind to everyone around you. That's influencing the world in a positive way. And I do that, or I try to do that. But I want to take it one step further and be able to influence hundreds of thousands or millions of people in a positive way.
Yeah.
Same thing what you're kind of trying to do with your music. It's like just different avenues for that. And then like you said, the same thing where it's like it needs to also make you feel good, otherwise you're just going to resent the world and feel like you're being taken advantage of.
Yeah.
And then it also needs to be of value to other people. And so it's like both of those are like the two basic criteria for what's probably going to make you the happiest in the world, is that it makes you happy and it provides other people with value.
Because both play off each other too.
Yeah.
When you make other people happy, you feel good. And when you feel good, you make other people happy. You know, they're just, you, like, one without the other is just so wrong. It just feels so wrong. And so you need both to just create this, like,
harmony of
harmony in your life, you know?
Yeah, because otherwise you're a doormat and you're going to be resentful, or you're a narcissistic sociopath who's just taking advantage of people. And neither of those are sustainable.
Yeah.
Both parties need to benefit. There needs to be the mutual benefit, otherwise it's gonna collapse. Stay
tuned for evolutionary psychology.
And we'll talk about evolutionary psychology in future episodes. So, and that's a great topic. But we're not going to go on that tangent. Let's go move on to lack of purpose. So how does lacking purpose, which I'm going to say we can say purpose and meaning in life are going to be synonymous. So how does lacking purpose impact your life or people's lives?
I think, like, with a lack of purpose, like, you feel lost. You feel very lost. Like, I think humans, like, as creatures, like, we are so meant to, like, come up with ideas and, like, want to pursue them and want to make them happen. That is, like, in the deepest part of our soul to want to go and do that. And if you're just wandering around every day, like you're just going to a job you don't really like, and then you're just spending your money like for like quick dopamine hits, and like you just don't have any direction, your life feels like you're having the same day over and over and over again. It doesn't feel like you're progressing. It doesn't feel like you're achieving anything. And like, what is that going to bring in? Major depression.
Yep.
Major sadness.
Anxiety as well.
Anxiety, because what are you thinking about? The fear. Well, why am I here? What's my purpose? What should I be doing? Like, now you're on the anxiety train mixed with depression. Then you're going to get angry too. Well, why do other people have a purpose? Why is this person successful? Like,
I deserve that success.
Yeah. And so I think, like, when you don't have a lane and, like, feeling that lost can literally tear apart your life. And, like, I think it is, like, super valuable for both of us to talk about, like, an experience where we felt that way. Because when I didn't have purpose, I was chasing dopamine.
Yeah.
When you don't have a purpose, you chase dopamine, and like that's what I was doing with drugs and alcohol.
Well, what's funny is that like your dopaminergic reward system is fundamentally based on having a goal and then striving towards that goal. Like your brain releases that motivation chemical and the happiness as you move towards a valued goal. So when you don't have a valued goal and you don't feel like you're progressing towards it in some meaningful way, you're just not getting those chemicals.
Yeah.
So you're gonna seek them elsewhere.
Right.
It's like when you don't have purpose and you're not moving towards it, you're gonna fall into conformism. You're gonna fall into
what is conformism?
Doing as others do, just sort of copying everybody else and just moving with the crowd because you have no direction, so you're just gonna follow them.
Yeah.
Or totalitarianism, doing as others say, which is like if somebody tells you to do something, you're just gonna fall into line because you don't have any other idea of what you should be doing.
Yeah.
Another way that people mask their frustration with not having meaning in their life is will to pleasure, which is literally just constantly going for like the hedonistic lifestyle, drugs, alcohol, sex. Like none of that is going to be fulfilling long term. You're just you're trying to get artificial dopamine. Basically, it's not artificial, but you're getting dopamine from sources that aren't sustainable because they're not moving you towards a valued goal.
Right, and all that stuff wears out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, and I think, like, that's, unfortunately, that's something that people don't realize until they have a lot of that thing.
Yeah.
Like, you don't realize that sex isn't the answer to all your problems until you're fucking every day.
Yeah, and then you're like, wow, like, this is
like
fulfilling
like, I feel like shit. Or you don't realize that, like, and I don't really like the idea of, like, oh, money doesn't bring happiness or money does bring happiness. I think it's super, like, relative, but, like, you don't realize that money can't be the purpose of your life until you have $1 million.
Yeah, if you
and you
make that
scammed
focus,
everyone
right,
to get there, and you're like, fuck, like, I'm screwed, but I think I don't like either side of the money argument because money does give us, it's a tool.
I was about to say, money is literally just a tool to enable you to
go do things that make you happy and make you feel good.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly
because sometimes
how
your purpose costs some fucking money.
So yeah, like money is just an exchange of value. It's just a token of influence, really.
Right.
And so you need that influence to get things done. Like to get that coffee, you need to provide value because they're giving you coffee. Like there's a mutual benefit that occurs there when you get that coffee.
Right.
So like the money is just is functional. It's not the ends. Just because you're sitting on $1 million, you do nothing with it. It's worth nothing. It didn't provide any tangible benefit to anybody. And so when you put money up on a pedestal like that and then you try to strive for it as if it's the end all, you're going to get there. You're going to be sitting on $10 million, having done nothing with it or your life, and you're just going to feel miserable.
Just like how we were like saying before about like having something that makes you feel good and doing something good for somebody else. If you have $10 million and you're not affecting the world in a positive way with it, you can't have that side of you feeling good.
Right. So my desire to have tens or hundreds of millions of dollars isn't to sit on the cash and be like, wow, I'm rich.
Like, I'm a baller. Yeah.
No, not at all. I want to do great things with that money and influence the world in a positive way.
Right.
Build schools, build hospitals, launch businesses that provide valuable products and services to people that change lives. That's what's going to make me fulfilled. That's what's going to make me happy.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
So, speaking of purpose, how can you find your purpose?
I think like we like covered it like a little bit like in the beginning, But for me, I mean, like, I consider myself, like, really lucky because, when I, when I got clean, I, like, remembered about music and I was just willing to dive into it. And I was like, this is what it is. We're going to try this out. And, like, the first time I tried something, I was like, this is it. I love it. Cool. We're going to run with it. That's not everyone's experience. You know, like, I think, like, you just need to go out and try shit.
Yeah,
And,
experimentation
like,
for sure. Exploring different options, like just.
and if you can remember something from when you were a kid, like, try that
Well,
first.
I think that's the best way to go about first trying to find your purpose is just self-reflection. You just have to
Right.
really just look at yourself from outside of yourself.
Yeah, and, like, awareness.
Yeah, just be aware of, okay, what makes me happy? And then don't look at it on the surface. Look underneath. Like, what is underneath the action or the activity that is making me feel good?
Right.
And then just see how maybe you can replicate that at a larger scale.
Yeah. Yeah, and even if, you know, because, like, we're both people who, like, don't struggle with self-awareness. So, like, even if self-awareness is your struggle and you just have a hard time, like, diving into those deeper thoughts, just go out and try things. Or, better yet, like, we live in a day and age where you can monetize anything.
Basically anything.
Like,
Yeah.
anything. Like, literally every time I meet somebody who's like, I just love to play video games all day, I'm like, why don't you just stream on Twitch?
You can make
or
money
make a
literally
YouTube
playing video
account.
games all day. Yeah.
You know, so, like, I think right now is a wonderful place, or right now in time is a wonderful time to, like, really be able to find a purpose, because anything is possible with, like, technology and the internet. And so even if you don't have that self-awareness, just go try things that you like. Or if you have something you like already, just figure out how you can monetize it. You know, like, and it's not going to work off the bat. You know, you're not going to, like, start playing, like, COD and streaming it and, like.
Well, here's the thing I want to bring up about that,
Yeah.
though, is because another problem that a lot of people have, from what I've heard, is that they don't even have the motivation to do it. And I think that really comes. There's this concept I looked into a while back called dopamine detox. Right now, we are being bombarded with stimulus that is evolutionarily unprecedented. Like, pornography, social media, just the instant gratification that we're getting all the time. It's basically desensitizing our sensitivity to dopamine. And so dopamine is the chemical that or I think it's a neurotransmitter that motivates us to do things.
Right.
And so when we are desensitized to it, the things that would normally be fulfilling, like going to the gym, working out, socializing with people, making progress towards a valued goal, aren't as fulfilling anymore. Because compared to when you're having meaningless sex or masturbating, it's nothing. Because that wave of dopamine that you get then completely, overshadows the dopamine that you get from actual productive activities.
Well, and it's an easier way to get it.
Yeah, it's a quick hit, just like we're getting on social media all the time.
Right.
And so I think that if you are struggling with motivation and trying to find your purpose, like, even if you know, like, okay, this is what I like to do and this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, but I just don't have the motivation to really seriously pursue it, cut out other sources of dopamine.
Right.
And then you will eventually just gravitate towards that because it'll be fulfilling enough as you move towards the goal. It'll give you enough dopamine. You'll desensitize yourself to the dopamine, and so you'll be more fulfilled as you move towards your goal.
Yeah, I didn't even, like, really think about that, because for me, like, if I like something, I'm just like, I'm gonna do it every day, like, it's like the best thing,
Well, you already, freaking went through that process of completely wrecking your dopamine system, and then you got sober. And so then, like, you don't have those sources anymore. Where are you going to get dopamine from? You're going to get it from moving and progressing towards a valued goal. So immediately you just started going in that direction.
Right. And I think this was also something I was going to bring up, like, fairly, like, quickly, is that, like, and it applies to, like, the dopamine detox, is that, like, being desperate is the best way to, like, start motivation or to find a goal, is because once say you cut out social media, you cut out pornography, you cut out video games, like, you're now desperate for dopamine.
Yeah.
In some type of way. You know, it doesn't necessarily mean you're like crawling across the floor like, I need to feel happy.
I mean, you pretty much
but,
are.
Yeah.
But it's like you've decided that you are not going to engage in those non-productive activities for dopamine, and so that forces you to focus on productive activities for those sources of dopamine.
And that's the same thing, but like on like a very gnarly scale that happened when I got sober.
Right.
Is I stopped like drinking and doing drugs, and I was like, I want to kill myself. Like, this is terrible. And I was like, I called up Getty, and I was like, dude, will you help me make a couple rap songs? And he's like, sure, I've never made beats before, but let's do it. And we like did that, and we made this song, and I was like, this is sick. Right? Like, we're going at it, you know? Like, and so I think like you make such an amazing point with like, if you are struggling, cut out that shit, get really desperate, get sad. You know, like,
you're gonna be sad for sure, yeah.
Feel that lack of purpose in your life. Like, feel the hole in your soul, and then pick that goal and run at it.
And if you're complete, even if you're at that point where like you've cut out all the sources of dopamine in your life that are unhealthy and that aren't moving you towards something that's like good for you, like an easy thing to pick up to just get those little bits of dopamine in a productive way is just to exercise.
Oh yeah.
Just like if you're at rock bottom, start lifting heavy things and then putting them down and then lifting them up again, and then do that repeatedly in heavier things, and you will become healthier, you'll become more fit, and you'll be happier.
I think, I mean, like, dude, I will stand by this shit for forever, that for anyone like not motivated or not disciplined or in a bad place, just start with working out.
It's very
It's
practical.
like the basis of all motivation and dedication.
You'll see progress tangibly. Like, even after just a couple of weeks, you'll notice you're stronger. After a couple of months, you'll notice that your physique is improved. It's like, if I am ever sad or something is not going well in my life, I'm just like, let's go to the gym.
Yeah.
Like, let's lift heavy things. Let's channel that frustration and that pain into my betterment, right?
Yeah. No, that is an amazing place to start. Absolutely. And then everything builds on top of that. Mm-hmm. You know, because it has for me, like when I found music and I was like, this is awesome. I was like, wait, like what other places can I get this from that feel good? And then like I started running 40 miles a week again. Yeah. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. And then I was making music. I was running 40 miles a week, and I was working 40 hours a week too, you know? Like, and I was like, dude, like, and you know, like for me, I got obsessive about it, and like I had to learn to balance a little bit. But the point I'm trying to make is that I started that one thing, and then I was like, oh, I put me on the right path.
Yeah, you're just orienting yourself towards getting your dopamine sources from productive activities.
Yeah.
Like another thing that I started to do is really take reading seriously. So I started like deliberately reading. I started with one book a month. I was like, okay, I'm going to finish one book every single month, and I'm going to write a book report on it so that I can remember what I learned. And then I got to like actually see my progress in learning things and acquiring new knowledge that I could apply to different areas, and like that was huge. And I was like, oh my god, I'm going to read 2 books a month now. So this year I've been reading 2 books every month. And then eventually, if I have the time or the ability, I want to be able to read a book every single week. It's like, that's 52 books a year. That's more books than most people have read in their entire lifetime after high school. Like, for sure. And so, like, that sort of...
I haven't even read, like, a quarter of that many books, bro.
So, that sort of productive activity is huge, and it makes me feel so fulfilled and so happy that I know I'm acquiring knowledge at a rate and a level that most people aren't, and that it's a huge source of dopamine for me. I love it.
Well, and we're meant to better ourselves, dude. Yeah. Like even if you fucking hate yourself, it feels so good to better yourself.
Those sources of dopamine that are like artificial or aren't healthy, they simulate self-improvement. Like when you're on Instagram and you're liking posts and people are liking your post, that simulates validation from other people and that you're ascending in a social hierarchy, which is something that we've evolved to want to do. And so, like, it's you're not really going anywhere. Yeah. When you get those Instagram likes or when you're engaging with other people's posts, you're actually not really ascending a hierarchy. It just feels that way, so it feels really good. That's a huge motivator that we have as a species. Same thing for pornography. Simulates sex. And sex is, like, our primary drive that we have as organisms that are meant to reproduce.
Yeah.
So, like, One thing for guys, like if you, because I know a lot of guys are like addicted to masturbation and pornography. If you cut that out, you will notice a tremendous tangible improvement in your life.
Yeah.
I know a lot of guys who really struggle with that kind of thing.
Yeah, dude, even for me, like, because the other part, like, I'm not including in, like, finding, like, the productive parts of my life that, like, brought me dopamine, or, like, I've definitely had terrible ones, too, like, not, like, porn's whatever, dude, like, there's tons of people that struggle with that.
Worse than porn.
Yeah.
You're doing.
Like, I've had fucking really bad ones, and, like, I don't think anyone is not gonna have any, like, bad sources of dopamine, like, and we're all gonna struggle, and, like, I've gone through periods where it's been, like, a lot of this and a lot of this, and, like, trying to manage, and, like, the main thing that I realize is the more effort I can put towards the positive ones, the artificial ones or the shitty ones, they go down. Like,
A, you don't even have time for them anymore,
yeah,
because you're more focused on actual productive activities. So, like,
right.
the amount of time that you could spend fucking off playing video games decreases.
Yeah.
Video games is another killer, because
Yeah.
video games literally simulate real life.
Yeah.
They simulate that sort of
making achievements and
achievements,
goals,
exactly.
and, like,
so, like, video games, pornography, and social media, big no-nos.
yeah,
Get rid of them if you can. I mean, you can balance your life around those, so long as you also have those healthy activities that are moving you towards something valuable. But if all you're doing is scrolling through Instagram and Snapchat, masturbating, and playing video games, like,
you got a problem.
you got to reevaluate your life.
Well, and I think, like, that's a point that I wanted to make too, is, like, I don't think either one of us are on here saying that we don't do any of those things.
Right.
Like, I think all of those things, I don't think any one of those things has a baseline negative connotation to it. Like, I just think that if you're in a position where you're not able to be motivated for other things in your life, those are areas where you can really look at.
Right, exactly.
Like, I don't think, like, dude, play some video games. Like, I don't even really play video games. I think they're sick,
It's at the point where what that thing is replacing, like each of those replace a different thing. So social media is replacing social interaction.
Right.
If you are just on social media and not interacting with people in the real world, you have effectively replaced something that's actually valuable with something that's moving you nowhere.
Right.
Same thing for pornography. If all you're doing is watching pornography and masturbating, and you're not going out and talking to women and engage or whatever sexual partner you want,
yeah.
You're not actually building relationships, you've artificially simulated something that's truly valuable and important. Right. Same thing for video games. If all you're doing is playing video games and you're not working towards a real goal that has tangible benefits to you in the world,
yeah,
it's like, just don't let those things replace the real world.
Yeah.
Those aren't real life. Social media's not real life. Pornography's not real sex. Video games aren't real personal growth.
Yeah.
It's like, focus on what's real.
Yeah. First.
All right, so that was a big
nailed it.
a big thing on finding purpose.
Yeah.
And then in a future episode, actually these next few episodes, we're going to be talking about how you can invest your resources that you have, your time, energy, and your money to progress towards the goals that you have. So once you've established what your purpose is or what kind of tangible goals you want to move towards, how do you do that practically? And that's going to be going into like where you put your money, how you spend your time, and how you're spending your energy. And so we'll expand on that in future episodes.
Yeah, no, and like just one like last thing I want to add too that just popped up in my mind is that like if we all have those resources almost immediately, like maybe not money until you start working, but the reason why purpose is so important is if you don't have them, all those resources are going to be like,
yeah, they're going nowhere. They're not focused.
You
There's
know,
no
like,
direction. Right.
So, like, and, you know, so I think that, like, it's just really awesome that it worked out for us to talk about this first, you know? And then, like, yeah, like Nick was saying, like, we're going to try to dive into, like, really, once you have a goal, like, how can we use the three main resources in the world to really achieve it?
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. And I want to reiterate that last point you just made because I feel like we kind of just overlooked it, is like the importance of having purpose. It was implied through a lot of the things that we said, but it's that it gives you direction. It literally is how your dopaminergic reward system works. So it's going to like make you happy, like literally.
Yeah.
And it allows you to focus your resources in a way that you wouldn't be able to do otherwise. Like, you're not going to hit a target if you don't know what you're aiming at. You're just going to be moving around aimlessly in the world, and you're going to just fall anywhere else. Like, if you're not deciding where you're going, somebody else is going to decide that for you, and they might not have the best intentions for you.
Yeah, hell no.
So take responsibility over your own life and go out, find your purpose, and we're going to talk about how to move towards it in future episodes.
Let's go.
Hell yeah, brother.
Dude, good ass episode. We'll see you guys for 6.